So here we have the previous car build, the Car RS Frog Edition, and give it a quick drive because this is not all that bad as what it is. It's also very loud. But we've got, yeah, it can be a bit uncontrollable. Generally it's pretty good though. You see here, tackling the dirt with its 4x4 system and dirt cross-ply tyres because that's what it gave me. And we're going to build another one, hopefully. Whether it will be anything like this is the question, but we will have to find out. We've got an SUV again. Well, it said SUV or truck before on the test model before last episode, but for now we have an SUV. Now, the other thing, because if we get small, we can technically build a crossover, and I guess it's not that much of an SUV, but still, let's see. Okay, a medium SUV. At least this does give me that one advantage that if we are using a what do you call it, leaf springs on the front due to the wheels choosing, then we are going to be fine. I'd say about 2.7 like that is probably the right size. Can you get a larger version of that? Yeah, but I'd say we're looking about 2.7, 2.8. So if we can get a smaller one of these, I believe this is a Range Rover. This looks fairly mid-sized, 2.74 length. So, you know, this looks like a decent starting point. What year is it? I think it's a P38. Yeah, 1988. That would fall into line to be a Range Rover P38 in terms of overall design and stuff. Anyway, we do have pretty much all of the options here that we could need, so we're going to do another spin to try and re-choose the driveline and stuff. There should be 5. Because I made a dumb mistake, but we have found a body that supports pretty much anything. And we're going with 1 again. It hasn't changed its mind, it's still front transverse. I don't mind that though, I don't mind front transverse. At this point, I could give it... I think I'll just keep that layout then. I'm not going to re-roll for suspension because it stayed pretty much the same, so I'm going to honour that. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think because it's transverse is why I can't go with leaf springs on the front, so kind of the transverse layout saved me there. I'm not going to complain too much. We're also getting front wheel drive or all wheel drive. I can't say that's a particularly bad option. So despite some dumb mistakes on my part, now I would say it started being cruel by telling me to go with leaf springs on the back. But overall, we've got a decent setup. Leaf springs on the back is far from the worst it could do. Like, this thing could potentially still handle. I mean, it might bounce a little, but I think we could still have a good handling car here. Especially if it ends up being a bit like a rally car like it did before. Or maybe a road-going rally car, then the extra height of leaf springs will not go amiss. So, with the body, we're going to have to go with some kind of the SUV body. I think it's going to take a bit of time to shift, but yeah, that's a 2-door. For a mid-size SUV, I know it doesn't look mid-size, but we're going to need the extra doors. I don't think it can qualify as being mid-size if it doesn't even have these doors. It looks tiny. I think it's just a very tall car, essentially based on a Mercedes C-Class, and it's the best I could do for engine options and such. Given it's front-wheel drive and it's got this suspension configuration, though, I could change the body. I just had to be forgiving if it wanted a mid-engined or whatever, so I chose this body for that reason. We do have a random colour wheel as well. Let's generate a new colour. Ooh, blue and green. This might work. So we're going to have a combination of blue and green. AMD and Intel working together at long last. You know what? I don't hate AMD, though. They made the Athlon X2. And that was a good chip. The Athlon 64XT, that was a very good chip back in the day. That was what kind of led to the Core 2 Duo. Intel had to make something better than the Pentium D. The Pentium D was really just a rush job, though, to compete with what AMD had at the time and get a dual core out early on. So, I don't know exactly how I'm going to sort this colour. For now, I think I'll just make it all the green, but I have the blue there ready to add to adjust in some way, and I think they can work together. Blue and green, blue and green are two of the main colours on an LCD display, or even CRT. There's red, green and blue, and that's two of them. So I think we can make it work. Have quite a nice, vibrant car. As I say, I don't know how it's going to work out exactly, and we can go into the design better when I'm sure of the body I need. Now, okay, we've got transverse. It hasn't been decided for certain. I'm on the wrong wheel, aren't I? Hasn't been decided for certain if we have this. Now, 4 of those options, or 5 even, involve being some kind of all-driven wheel option. Try not to confuse 4x4 and all-wheel drive, but they involve all wheels being driven, and the first one does not. So let's see. Oh, we've barely got front-wheel drive. I don't hate it though. Here's the thing. I don't hate this being front-wheel drive. Front-wheel drive can work very well. I guess it's not going to complement the leaf springs because we want this to have as much traction as possible. But I feel like this is going to work. I'll make a new engine family. There we go. Because it has to be a wheel option. I mean, I may just make the engines called wheel engines. Before it gave me a carburetted 4-litre V10 made just under 300 horsepower, so it was not a power monster, but it was a pretty solid overall engine, naturally aspirated. 3, I think iron performed. Okay, now it started being weird. At least, one thing I can say, it's at least given me the performance version of iron, not the low performance, like economy-based version. So I think we can still get performance, as weird as it is having the heavier material at the top of the engine. I think this is going to work. I mean, I don't think that's going to affect the RPM as much either as the minimum, like, base end of the block. So as weird as it is having like a 1960s, 1970s top end on an otherwise kind of advanced engine, I think it's going to work. This might make up a little for the cast iron conrods. I mean, sometimes the weird thing is, despite being completely random, the wheel does sometimes make good decisions, and I would say, in the grand scheme of things, this engine is pretty well configured. The only thing, if I had to complain, would be the direct acting overhead cam. Iron performance is not the best header, but it should have some performance to it, if a little heavier, so I can't complain too much about that. Yeah, this wheel is not being so bad. Although, I am using a different wheel, so, you know, the previous wheel did like the number 1. I noticed that. Maybe this one's different. So do we have VVT or not? Let's see. Before it gave us standard VVT, but there weren't much options. Okay, I'll accept no VVT. It seems like it's trying to build some kind of retro performance engine, though. And I'm not sure I hate it. So we've got 3 options now for the VVL. We are at the mercy for pretty much every attribute of this engine. Yeah, I think it's because I said the other wheel liked 1. This has also decided it likes 1. Although, VVT and VVL are 2 things I can accept not having loads of technology for. Look, why are you it's chosen 1 3 times in a row. What are you on about doing with this? I don't hate it. It's a very classic style of engine despite the, high-end aluminium block. If I could paint this block, and I think I can, I'll probably make it so, because it will actually somewhat balance out the overall look of aluminium and cast iron, so it doesn't look quite so iffy as it does now. Okay, so carburetor injection, is it going to be nice? It's given me like 2 builds before with carburetors, so, you know, 1 on stream, 1 off. Why do you love carburetors? Why do you love number 1? Okay, I have to obey it, but I can't say I really like it. We've got number 4. Okay, I'll take 6 carburetors. As I was saying, they're only 2-barrel, but we've got so many carburetors. So we've not got fuel injection, we've got 2-barrel carburetors, but we've got so many of those carburetors. You know what, I don't actually think airflow is going to be an issue. Look at that, that's crazy. You know what, for once, I'm not that mad about not getting given fuel injection. Because this is a pretty crazy setup, yes, and it's probably not reliable, but man, it's going to make power. I'm almost certain this is going to make power. It's going to answer to what fuel we get as well, naturally. Oh no. Why are you doing this to me, wheel? Compact is like the lowest end. It certainly seems to retain its love for the number 1. Why these wheels love the number 1 so much, I do not know. We've got headers now. It's the kind of thing barely legal. I think you can have a car road legal with just one muffler, but this is not going to be exactly much of a muffler. It's straight through. If the engine doesn't make much noise to begin with, maybe. Let's see how... I will tune this. 138 standard doesn't sound bad. I reckon we could get at least 200 out of this, because... To me, that doesn't sound loud, so maybe there was some method to the madness. I'll just actually, I'll get rid of the wheel for now. That will show you the power curve. That's what we're dealing with. It looks... Why is it lagging so much? Yeah, it's jumping. Sorry about that. Like, no idea why it's jumping on the power curve so much and not staying stable. But for a carburetted engine with 2 valves per cylinder, I think that power curve is pretty good. I quite like that. And as I say, I will tune it. I'm not forbidden from tuning the hand the wheel deals me, so I think there's a lot of power in that. I feel happy with this body because it takes the V12 so well, but I do think I have other options. As I say, it is transverse, so there's not a huge amount of space. It gets away with it a little better because there's McPherson struts and they're less impeding on the width of the engine. And I'm going on too much. I need to choose 7 options for transmission, and then I need to let it choose the speeds. Clutched race LSD, so we've got a race differential. Honestly, I said it's going to need a good differential. It gave me a good differential. I'll take that. I mean, maybe electric LSD is better, but given that this says race, I would imagine it's pretty high-end technology in there. And we have the tyres. Now, this is where it can be cruel, because we have 4 options for tyres. Before, it gave me rally cross plies, which is why I went with the retro rally theme. Oh, we're getting radials. Yes, this is good. I like this. Before, it was giving me cross plies, and I did not like that. I like radials. Okay, is that going to be good? That's sports, I think. So not semi-slicks, but we are getting good tyres here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're not building an out-and-out race car, but for a front-wheel drive, like, larger crossover, it's mid-size SUV, so I would say a larger crossover, given that it's front-wheel drive. To have sport radials, we could be doing a lot worse. So the first thing I'm going to try, just for now, I'm going to make them a little wider. There's no set rule on what width I can do. If I let the wheel have that much control, the thing would probably just be completely undrivable. Same with like adjusting the brakes or adjusting the engine. I have to have some potential to turn it into something by tuning it myself. It's just the wheel is going to choose the parts list. So we've got 6 options here, adjust the wheel. So we've got steel. We've got steel wheels. And that's a low-end option. But you know what? Given out of everything being a low-end option, the wheels are pretty minor, to be honest. If we were running, I don't know, a large, full-size pickup truck made of steel, then maybe I would be concerned that it's just got steel wheels. But on this kind of car, I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. I think we go 18s. Don't want to make them too big because they're steels. To steelies, and steelies I don't think they look too good when you make them massive. 80 to 99 hubcap, these will probably do, because I think there were still some sporty ones. They just scream we've got steel wheels. I think the white hubcaps, like, they would look decent. This car does not look like it has a V12, and I actually kind of like that, not gonna lie. So what have we got there? There's things like that, they hide them being steelies a little better. I think I'll go with these just because they look less like hubcaps. They look more like alloys. And I'm not a fan of the whole steel wheel thing, personally, but I think that's going to work the best of all of the hubcaps. Now, the brakes. It was really cruel last time. It gave me the drum SLS on the front, and then 2-piston carbon ceramics on the rear. I somehow made it work. I think I'm going to go with the practical numbers of seats that you may see in this type of car. So we'll go 2, 4, 6. So maybe we've got 8. Yeah. It wouldn't have a bench seat, I don't think, given how it's kind of taken this sleeper form. So 2, 4, 6, 7, and 8. Like, they all seem like decent enough seat amounts for this car. 2 perhaps a little less so, but if it asks me for 2 seats for maximum performance or whatever, I'll take it. And 8. I don't hate this. I actually really like it. It's insane, and I love it. An 8-seater, like, front-wheel drive hypercar, which also looks like a crossover. I don't hate this at all. It's insane, and I love it. Watch as it makes me have a luxury interior now or something. We've got 4 options. Let's see which cassette player we get. If it sets premium, then, or standard even. No, basic. As I say, it's like the absolute base model Volkswagen. The materials aren't terrible, but you're not looking at the highest level of equipment. And the thing is, it makes sense. If we're looking around about the year 2000, that this car was maybe originally made, it makes sense. So I don't see a need to change this body at all now, because that looks like it could easily be from about the year 2000. We've got very advanced. I feel like at this point it's just trying to mess with me. Look, or I could pretend that this is simply them adding a roll cage to an old chassis. I have ways of making the cannon work. Besides, it's very light because of the carbon fibre and stuff, so maybe it'll just balance out. No ABS though. Like, it would have to be from the late 90s, early 2000s, because after that, or the very dawn of the 2000s, I mean, because after that point, ABS would literally become standard. So... Or there's also the explanation that the ABS just broke. And we have passive. What kind of suspension setup is this? It could at least consistently be cheap. I think it's going to be okay. At least the dampers are semi-active. They're the one thing leaf springs do have. They don't have actual springs, but they have dampers. I think there may be kind of some method to the madness. Kind of idea. This could handle amazingly. I feel like I should try and keep the sleeper potential. I don't think this has gone as bad as it could have. So we're like 2 hours 5 minutes in, and I blame the engine, because that engine was an absolute pain to get right, and I've still not got it perfectly tuned, because I don't think you can. As hard as I try, I don't think it's possible to get this thing perfectly tuned. I would love to have like a multiplayer server though, that would be pretty funny with this. It also does 6.7 miles per gallon. This thing is going to drink fuel. It's going to drink fuel like no tomorrow. I don't know how it's volumed up. I can change that a bit later if I have to. It doesn't feel it grips all that well on this dirt. It does kind of grip, but it doesn't grip the best. Come on. Oh, the understeer. Mind you, it's not as bad over bumps. Given how stiff this is, it's not as bad over the bumps as I would have expected. I'm going to try and take this to wherever the tarmac roads are on the Italy map, because I really do want to test it there. I have to turn it down on my headphones, actually. It's kind of loud. Oh dear, don't fall off the cliff. Don't fall off the cliff. Okay, hold on. I mean, it seems very predictable. Seems very predictable. There we go. Kind of stiff, but I think it's stiff, but it's got the suspension travel, so it falls into this awkward middle ground of, like, not being perfect. Let's just jump it, because... Oof. Half shaft broken, okay. That's a way to break your car. It was a very underwhelming crash, though. So I'm going to stick it in the auto mode. I've got to find a tarmac road. There's got to be one somewhere. Like you can see, it's off-road. It's okay, but it's clearly not at its best. You know what? I'm just going to fly, because I feel like I'm just going to loop around the quarry at this rate. Ah, here's a town. Here is a road. So, I believe I recognise this. We've got, yeah, I'm going to use paddle shift because it's like there's 8 gears, supposedly. I do not have 8 gears. Yeah, it handles really nicely here, actually. Really nicely. And this is on leaf springs. I was not expecting it to handle so good. It feels like you're going quicker than it is, to be honest. Like, I'm going 86. It felt like, from the sound and everything, I was going 150. Oh, dear. It's very responsive. Like, this does not understeer as well for a front-wheel drive. For a fairly fast front-wheel drive. But as I say, it feels quicker than it is. Gotta turn that down on the headphones. Come on. Oh no, oh dear. The lack of ABS there. If it had ABS, I could have probably made that corner. And admittedly, it was me being kind of reckless, but that's why you like ABS. Go into a manual mode. There we are. I mean, I don't know how it's looking on the... It doesn't look great on the OBS, but I shouldn't be looking there. It looks smooth on my PC here. That's all I can really say. Anyway, I can let the lights on, maybe. Does it show the light? I think it might be the N key. Yeah, it is. Oh dear. I need to pay attention to where I'm going. I'm not just turning on or off the headlights. I would say this handles very well on the tarmac. The other one was fairly good as an off-roader. Like, it's not as bad as you would think. It certainly sounds good. It's just clearly not got the crazy level of outright speed. But I would argue, in a way, it kind of makes up for the lack of speed over the other car, just for having, what do you call it? It kind of makes up for the lack of speed by having such good cornering. And the other thing I can argue, it's still, for the time, this would have been pretty quick. Like, you would have usually done this with a V6, not a V12, but it's not like that far off the specs of an actual kind of performance front-wheel drive of the time. I know the Ford Focus RS of the early 2000s made about 210-ish horsepower. Maybe 220. It made more than this, so as I say, you're not throwing like an inconceivable amount of power through the front wheels for the time this is like supposed to reference. I mean, I do like it. So yeah, I will return a little later, probably to do some track testing and stuff of this, but for the time being, I think it's built a decent car once again. Granted, this engine was an absolute nightmare to tune. I'll say that much. I'll be the first to say the engine was a kind of nightmare to build. But it's functioning. And it's functioning as well as I think I could have got a real car to drive. Like, I just don't imagine them driving typically this well. And because the brakes, even without ABS, because the brakes are like such a good type of brakes, they don't tend to lock up too badly. Like, I know this doesn't have ABS, but the brakes do not seem to be, like, at the issue where they would lock up. Almost like how you could take a car in the 1960s. If it was a very good built race car, there's a good chance they would have balanced the brakes so they wouldn't lock up, even without ABS being a thing. It takes these, as I say, it's stiff, but it doesn't take these bumps as badly as you would think. It's just a little, what would you say, uncomfortable? Yeah, so I'd love to just see how this goes when I get the time to actually drive it and see how quick it is. But just as an initial drive, I'd say I'm pretty happy with how this has turned out. Looks like the suspension is sagging on the back, but you can only ask so much. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here for today, and I will say goodbye until another day.